Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fulfilled Musicpreneur podcast. I'm Abia Guinea, your host, and I want to talk about how you can grow your audience using podcasts. This is something that I've done myself. It's something that I love to do. I think podcasts are fun, and I think with taking a little bit of time to get organized and going through these steps, I'm going to show you just how easy it is to start getting on podcasts and how you can start to use that to grow your audience and to grow your brand. I see someone is watching. Do you want to say hi? So I know who's watching. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. So, podcasts. As artists, we are constantly looking for ways to grow our audience, to grow our listeners. And we're posting on social media. And if you're lucky, you're getting some engagement. Some people feel like no one is really listening and no one cares. And I think the algorithm that has kept changing also makes it quite hard to feel like you are communicating on social media. Hey, Karen. So I think that another fun way to grow your audience and to get the word out there is just to get on podcasts. Because first of all, you're not going live and talking to random people on Facebook and having maybe just one or two people listening like now. You are talking to someone and having a conversation. And most podcasts have grown over time. They've grown their audience. Um, and this is something that you can use over and over again to share your message. This is something that's always going to be on YouTube, always going to be on the podcast. People will go back and listen. And I just think it's a fun way to have conversations about your music and to let people know what you are all about. Okay. So when I say grow your audience through speaking, I think podcasts are a fun way to do this. Okay. Now, how do you get started? First of all, it's back to your identity as an artist. What's your mission? What's your vision? But okay, let me break it down and make it real easy for you. Can you think about a handful of life lessons that you have learned along the way? So for me, I talk about perseverance a lot. Um, I've been through medical school and I've had to sit a lot of professional exams. And there were times that I failed and I had to pick myself up and keep going. And that has shaped me and built my resilience and perseverance. And I see the value of that over and over again. And when I come across people who want to give up because things are not going well, I'm like, dude, you got to keep going. You got to keep going because I've learned that one failure is not the end. You have to get back up and you have to keep going. And my first single was Someday Soon, which talks about failure and perseverance and resilience. And that is an amazing way just to share this life lesson that I've learned. And I think this is a universal theme that everyone will experience. Everyone is going to struggle with failure. Everyone is going to struggle with having to pick themselves and to keep going. So that is a universal theme that I can share over and over again. And my song Someday Soon, it's singable, it's fun. I never get tired of sharing that word. I can easily share that on a podcast. I can bring my guitar and sing it on a podcast. So what life lessons do you have? And do you have a song that talks about it? Okay. So I've talked about failure. You could talk about grief. Did you go through grief? What got you through that? That's something powerful. that people can relate to, that people can share, can take, they can learn from you. How about the power of worship? Maybe you're a worship leader, you are passionate about worship. Well, did worship get you through some situations in your life? Can you talk about that? Can you talk about that? How about community? The power of community. Um, was there a time that community brought you through certain seasons of your life? Okay, so what life lessons have you learned? Do you want to talk about your marriage? Do you want to talk about business? Do you want to talk about entrepreneurship? Can you think of a handful of life lessons and just know that you're happy to talk about these themes on podcasts? Okay, so life lessons, number one. Number two, your story. Your story is so important. And, get ready to share them, learn to talk about them in fun ways. And to be honest with you, you go on too many you go on so many podcasts that sometimes it will feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again. But just remember that different people are hearing them. Okay, so you might be sick of them, but the people that are listening will probably not be sick of them. So your stories, what's important, what seasons of your life have been instrumental in getting you where you are today. So for me, I always talk about the fact that I grew up in a musical family. Um, we loved music. We always came together at night um, to pray, and before we prayed, we will sing some songs together. We will take turns leading worship. We will sing harmonies, and then we will read from scriptures, and we will pray as a family. There were times when we put on integrity music. I'm probably showing my age now, but Ron Kenoli, Lionel Peterson, um, Don Moen. Who else did we love to listen to? You know, we will just put on those videos while we were doing house chores, and we will be jamming. We'll be listening to them and dancing around the house while we were cleaning. We grew up that way. We loved music. It was a huge part of our lives growing up. So I love sharing. I love sharing about that, because that played a huge role in getting me where I am today. Um, how about any other key things that happened in your life? When did you start to perform music? When did you realize that you were gonna start to actually release music professionally? That's big for me because I never knew that was gonna happen for me. So every time I go on a podcast, I always share about the night that I had the epiphany. I went to bed, woke up in the middle of the night, went to use the loo, but in the middle of all of that, I received a full download of a song, and I was so excited that, oh my god, I have written a full song in the space of like 5 minutes while I'm on the toilet, and I'm furiously typing out on my phone so I don't forget it, and I'm whisper singing this song into my phone so I don't forget the melody when I go back to bed. And in all the excitement, I realize that wait, um I'm excited that this has happened. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this new song with people, but people don't even know I'm doing this. So what's the fuss all about? And that's when the it dawned on me, like seriously, it felt like God was just sort of pulling back the curtains. And all of a sudden I was like, wait, wait a second. What if this song is not for me, but is actually for people to hear it, which is why I'm thinking this will be great if people can hear it. But what if this is not for me? And how are people gonna hear it? That's when I was like, oh my goodness, I think I'm gonna actually have to release this song professionally. That's how it all started. So I went to bed as a full-time doctor and just a church singer. in the choir on the praise team, and that was it for me. That was my extent of music, and I woke up the next morning telling my husband, "I'm gonna start releasing music." And I thought, "Oh my goodness," that I would have to, convince people and really explain, but actually the feedback I got was, "Well, finally, it took you long enough," and that's something that really stayed with me, you know, that it just took me a while to catch on. But that's a big part of my story, and then the fact that it happened in the middle of the pandemic, and I knew that doing this was with the aim of getting hope into the world in such a dark season. So that's another huge part of my story, how I came to the realization that I was going to start releasing music professionally. So, what is it for you? Did you always know you were going to be an artist? And if you always knew you were going to be an artist, surely it's not been smooth sailing all the way. What has been some setbacks? What has been some bumps along the road that made you take a minute to reflect, to think, is this really what I want to do? Because life is never that easy. For me, it was realizing quite late that I was going to start releasing music and knowing nothing about the music industry, knowing nothing about releasing music. And I had to learn that while working as a full-time doctor with kids, with a family, with many commitments. Um, so what's it for you? What can you share from your story that people can relate with? And the word relate is really important because what we want to do with our stories is to let people see themselves in our stories. So we might be telling our stories, but the aim is for people to actually relate and to see themselves as as us. We want them to see themselves in our stories. So when we take them through what we went through and the valley season onto how we came out of it, how we excelled, how we got the victory. We want them to be able to see that it's possible for them as well, right? So it's not just telling your story, it's telling your story in relation to the audience and how your story can help the audience. So start off with stories that are relatable, right? Um, don't just talk about the mountain seasons and the highs and the successes. Talk about the lows as well. Really important. Really important. That vulnerability, that struggle that you went through. There is power in that. There's power because that's where connection comes in. You want people to connect with you, right? That's where connection comes in because when they connect and you talk about your music, they want more of you. They want more of you. That's why when you talk about how where they can listen to your music at the end of the podcast, they're gonna go find it. They're gonna add it to their playlists because they connected with you, they connected with your story, they connected with the lessons you were sharing, and they want more. They want more, right? So this is what we aim to do when we go on podcasts, right? Now, something else that you really should think about having before going on podcast is a free gift. Really, really important, right? So on my free mini course called Monetize Your Music in 3 days, I talk about how you can create a really valuable gift. You can create a journal, right? You can create an ebook, a really short but high impact ebook. There's, there's different options that I give you in the course, but you can use your songs to create more value, right? So when you talk about something that you would love to give to the audience, it's not generic anymore. It's not just the music that they can listen to on Spotify. It's something more. And that also gives them a reason to join your email list. But you have to be able to say, this is what my free gift is going to do for you, right? So for me, on this podcast, and when I go on podcasts where other artists are listening in, I talk about my free book, my free mini course called Monetize Your Music in 3 Days. And I talk about how you can use it to monetize every song release. Every song release, you could have something to offer alongside your songs. So people pay and you're able to 10x what you would have been getting if people were just listening to it on Spotify, right? Um, and I think that's really valuable. And by the time I say people that have listened to this have said this, that social proof is really important. So if you can say, oh, people that have listened to these songs have said this, people that have read my ebook have said they really loved how it helped them feel this way. And I'm going to give it to you free of charge. There's going to be a link in the description below the podcast. Just click on that link. It will take you to a page where you can put your email and the free gift will arrive in your email, right? So you could go generic and just say, I have a collection of my best songs to give you. And if you go on the page and put your email address, you will receive these songs in your inbox, right? That's that's fine, right? But I mean, people can listen to the songs for free, so they might not give you your email address. You need to have something that people would want. They will want enough to give you your email address, to give it their email addresses for. Okay. Um, the other thing you could do could just be a follow me on social media, give them your social media handle. And if you message me, we can, whatever you're doing, so, but the important thing is you need one call to action with a freebie. Okay. Don't just say, oh, yeah, follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Twitter. When you give them too many options, they don't pick anyone. You need one call to action with one gift that's really sellable, that's really easy to follow, and the instructions need to be clear. So if you need help with any of this, if you're interested, let me know. We can jump on a call together and I can show you exactly how to do it. Okay. Now you could say, now, Abby, this sounds good. I think this is doable. I can definitely go on podcast, talk about my story, talk about life lessons, talk about my music. But how do I actually get on podcast? Where do I find podcast hosts? Now, first of all, know that podcast hosts are always looking for people to bring on their podcast as long as you have value to share. They just don't want you to go on and just to, promote yourself, promote yourself. You need to have value to share. Great, amazing value. And you need to be ready to be vulnerable because some people will ask you hard questions. You need to be ready for that. Okay. So, what do you need, first of all? You need your story, you need your life lessons, you need your music that um, are consistent or in line with these life lessons. You need a freebie, okay, then you need some kind of speaker one sheet. Now, if you go on Canva, there's all sorts of templates for speaker one sheet. But essentially, you'll be able to put some pictures on the sheet. You'll be able to put the themes that you talk about and what you hope to share with the audiences. You'll be able to put what freebie you have. Okay. You'll be able to put your social media handles, all of that on there. And you could also put what previous podcast you've been on. When you have this sheet that has all of this, you could even also put what questions you are happy to answer, what questions you want them to ask you so you can talk about it. If you have a book, this is a great place to also talk about your book. You can even put what possible titles can be used for that podcast episode to make it real easy for podcast hosts to book you, to want you, because you've done the prep work. Okay. And last but not the least, you have this sheet. Where do you go? There are Facebook groups on there are groups on Facebook where podcast hosts are constantly posting that they're looking for speakers, they're looking for people to interview. And they talk about the themes that they want, right? So just go on Facebook, search podcasts, right? And then look out for podcast hosts. You can also post your really lovely design speaker one sheet on the group and just say, hey guys, I am a aspiring podcast speaker, and I want to get on podcasts. This is my speaker one sheet. I would love to be invited to be on your podcast. Please message me. I see that all the time, and that's a great way to get booked. Also, there is there are multiple other communities that you can use as well. But there's one that I love, and it's called Podmatch. Now, Podmatch is a website where there are podcasters and podcast guests. They go on, they put their details, and there's an algorithm or AI that matches up podcast guests with hosts. So it does the work for you, and you just literally get a message saying, "Hey, you've got a match." You go on that page, see if their views align with yours and you want them, and if you do, you message them. There is a fee for joining Podmatch. There's actually also a affiliate link as well, which I should probably find somewhere. But I think it's great, and if you're getting started, that's a really great way to get started because you won't even have to find podcasts. You just put your themes, you just put your topics, and you get matched. So it's a great way of starting out. It does the work for you. You're not having to really approach people to sell yourself. Once you fill out the forms that they prompt you to, it does the work for you, and you just get matched. So I think that's a great way to get started if you want to start getting on podcasts. So I hope this has been really helpful for you. If you need more help, maybe to get your strategy right for how you want to grow your email list, how what freebie you want, what themes you want. If you want to book a strategy call to talk about that, absolutely. Click the link in the description and book a call with me, and we'll take it from there. I hope this has been really helpful. Um, I think essentially I am moving my Thursday live broadcast to Monday nights because this is just what's been happening. Thursdays, I'm too zonked out to actually go live anymore. So I'm gonna say see you next time, next week on another episode of the Fulfilled Music Planner podcast. If you have not downloaded the free mini course, the free mini course, um, monetize your music in 3 days, you do need to download it. So click the link in the description, download the course, go through it. It's great value, really great value. Thanks, Karen. You need to look up Speaker One Sheet. Yeah, yeah, do absolutely do. All right, guys, take care. Bye.